4 international students in the US have been arrested by the immigration authorities there and are facing deportation charges for protesting against the war in Gaza. Among them, 2 are Indian nationals. One is Ranjini Srinivasan, a student at Columbia University, who was disenrolled by the university and subsequently she self-deported.
On Friday, I think evening is when there is the first disappearance from Columbia campus. Right, Mahmood is sort of detained and disappeared. So then I become extremely scared. My flatmate and my friends, they start like helping me, and I decide that I'm too unsafe in Columbia housing because it's evident that Columbia doesn't really want to do anything in this case, and so I just sort of like move to another location. I just packed a couple of like things like essentials, and I just left.
Another is Badar Khan Suri, a researcher at Georgetown University, who was detained by the authorities for deportation. The US says that his presence in the country would have serious consequences for its foreign policy, and there is a law that provides for deportation of such individuals. In the past, many Indian students and academicians in America have been vocal about US government policies, including its foreign policies. However, they did not face any punitive action and were generally free to voice out their opinion just like any US national. During the civil rights movement in 1950s and 60s in America, which was against institutional racial discrimination, people campaigned for racial equality in public spheres. Shyamala Gopalan, the mother of former US Vice President Kamala Harris, participated in the protest when she was a PhD student at UC Berkeley. She subsequently became a cancer specialist. Shyamala Gopalan met her future husband Donald J. Harris in one such protest. Later in 1968, when the Vietnam War was at its peak, students across America launched massive protests. There were sit-ins, lockdowns, and strikes. In America, the class of '68 became a symbol for student activism against the government. At the Columbia University, which is at the center of the controversy now, students occupied the university and took over it. N. Ram, the former editor-in-chief of The Hindu, was a journalism student there at that time.
I was a student after my MA at Presidency College. In '66, I went to Columbia University in New York, which had a very well-known journalism school, the Graduate School of Journalism, where I took an MS in comparative journalism in '68. In April of 1968, there was a big protest movement against the Vietnam War.
Ram talks about Ashok Mahadevan, the editor of Reader's Digest of India. Ashok Mahadevan participated in numerous demonstrations against America's prosecution of the war in Vietnam, including the famous March on the Pentagon in 1969. In 1968, Mahadevan and hundreds of Columbia students were arrested and briefly incarcerated too.
Thousands of students were involved in the protest, including one person from India I remember very well, Ashok Mahadevan, who was in Columbia College. He was an undergraduate. In Indian terms, you'd call him an undergraduate. And he was one of those who occupied, I remember very well, that ledge. That's where I saw him. He was also arrested and I think briefly in jail, and then he was, nothing happened to him. In fact, he continued to study at Columbia, enrolled in the Graduate School of Journalism later, and took his master's degree in journalism.
While there were reactions by the government and the university to the student and the protest, freedom of expression was not denied to anyone, including foreigners.
The university called in the police after, it lasted about a week. And then the legal process went on, and later on the university, acting president himself approached the court asking for maximum leniency towards the students, because there was so much pressure. These people were protesting for a just cause. Maybe there were some legal issues involved, but they should not be penalized. They should not forfeit their studies, except some were very militant who left the university. I think everyone was reinstated.
Recalling how things were and what is happening now, there seems to be a big attitude change towards foreign students and nationals.
This was not something that we heard in 1968, where there was the so-called Viet Cong, and then the Americans called them Viet Cong, those who were fighting in South Vietnam. and then North Vietnam was already free, it was attacked. But we didn't hear support for the Vietnamese liberation struggle as support for terrorism. The difference, that is a crucial difference. Today, Trump is above the law, the Trump administration. They are just saying nobody, even those with green cards, have no right to remain and study here.
Suri's deportation has been altered by the US District Court judge. During Trump's first term, a judge repealed a travel ban on Muslims. That judicial intervention seemed to slow him down back then. It remains to be seen how things will unfold.
I just want to finish my PhD and return to my life as it was. So I guess this is a plea for getting my visa reinstated, so that I'm, and sort of, asking Columbia to re-enroll me, so that I can just finish my PhD.